Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Topical Hour. Today we're going to be taking a look at The Last of Us Part 2, released in 2020. Everyone knows that the first game is really good. The vast majority of people believe it to be perfect, and there's no point in reinforcing that more. However, this game seems to be generally more frowned upon, so today we'll be discussing why The Last of Us Part 2 failed, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I mean it. A lot of you forgot to last time. Oh, and I should probably clarify what I mean when I say that a piece of media fails. There can be several different reasons why. In my last video talking about the failure of the Arkham franchise, everyone seemed to think that I thought the games were bad. On the contrary, I love those games and I love playing them, but from a simple writing and story standpoint, they failed to deliver in the end. And we all saw how that turned out with Game of Thrones, so I don't really care if you guys don't understand that something failed, but the Arkham franchise failed, no matter how good the first two games are. And if you really like playing Arkham Knight, to say that the story is good is still simply false. It's incoherent and sloppy. However, I'm not here to talk about that video anymore. It just felt like a lot of you guys misunderstood what I said in that video. But in the case of The Last of Us Part 2, it's a lot different. This game was destined to fail from the start. Not only was the production of this game seemingly plagued with hardship, but the game was also leaked before it was even released. I was fortunate enough to play this game unspoiled, but I also think that this game was doomed from inception, seeing as the first one didn't really need a sequel. I mean, really, this entire game doesn't feel like a sequel to the first one. This doesn't feel like a natural unfolding of events from the first game, but you know what, maybe I'm wrong. You guys seemed to think that last time, so let's brush up on this game's story a bit. The first game is relatively simple. Joel's daughter died during an initial outbreak of infected, and 20 years later he meets Ellie and is told to smuggle her to a set location so a group known as the Fireflies can use her to make a cure because she's somehow immune. But location after location, Joel and Ellie travel across the country meeting people and usually getting them killed, and they develop a relationship that's more commonplace now. I mean, how many stories have you seen that feature an old man who's closed himself off from his own emotions and he can only change when inspired by a child? Honestly, that's half of Sony's catalog of games. But it felt pretty fresh for 2013, and the game has enough runtime to flesh out the characters more naturally. However, by the end of the game, in a fantastic twist of the subgenre, Joel goes on a massive killing spree because the people that are trying to make the cure, the Fireflies, have decided to kill Ellie to do it, and he won't have it. He kills just about everyone at the hospital, and the game really makes you feel it, too. You even have to kill the doctor attempting to do surgery on Ellie to make a cure. Joel grabs her and proceeds to take her out of the hospital right before killing the woman that sent them both on this journey. Later, when Ellie asks Joel about it, he lies about the entirety of what happened, even claiming that there were a lot more people like her. She asks him to swear on it, and he does, but she knows deep down that he's lying about something. And that ending, man, is it good. It's almost as good as pineapple on pizza. But fast forward 7 years to the release of the second game. Spoilers if you somehow still haven't played this game, but the game would have you believe that the daughter of the surgeon working on Ellie was so angry about the death of the surgeon that after 4 years she tracked Joel down and beat him to death with a golf club. Now, as someone who understands how stories work, I registered that Joel needed punishment for his actions. He's not a good man, and it's not unbelievable that someone from his past would want to kill him. But a huge problem people have with this game is that they wanted to have a redemption arc for Joel's killer, who's named Abby. And they didn't do a great job. Oh boy, is Abby a character. Abby is probably the #1 reason why people hate this game. They claim that Joel is a great and loving father to Ellie who never should have died. This is ridiculous, but so is pineapple on pizza, so let's move on. The real problem with Abby's character is that the writers wanted to redeem her in the most roundabout way possible, while simultaneously making Ellie the most bloodthirsty character of all time. Jesus Christ. She just kills literally everyone she comes across in this game. There are times in the game where you would wound a last enemy in an encounter and they'd be on their knees begging for mercy and you'd be forced to make Ellie slaughter them. And you could shoot them, but you know we're saving that ammo, so you literally just beat their brains out with a pipe. It feels like the writers wanted to twist your actions in the end and make you regret everything you've done as you've realized the horrors you've committed, but everyone playing regretted it as they went along, and there was no twist. It was just Ellie, I don't think traveling across states to kill an army was a good idea. Ellie, these people probably have families. Ellie, that lady was pregnant. The subtlety was nowhere to be found with this game, especially when Ellie's friends are involved. I particularly liked whenever Dina would say something like, "Are you gonna stop killing these people?" And Ellie would just be like, "No, hi." So basically the two main characters of the game have a bloodlust similar to Kratos, except one of them tries to kill the other again and threatens a child to do so at the end. And this is the one we're supposed to like! So Abby is supposed to be redeemed halfway through the game, which is too late because by then the player base hates her. But then Ellie is so bloodthirsty that she's basically as bad as Abby was in the beginning. And you might be asking, what about the other characters and their arcs? Well, most of them are dead by the end of the game. The ones that are left are not without flaw either. Dina, Ellie's wife or girlfriend, it doesn't really matter, the world's screwed at this point. Dina follows a bloodthirsty murderer across the country and almost gets killed for it, and then sticks with her still. That's about as far as her flaws go at the end, and I guess when you love someone, you stick with them, but like, she killed a lot of people, Dina. Lev, the child that Ellie threatens to stab in the neck, yes, that child. Lev isn't really all that bad, although his inclusion as a transgender character feels a bit weird. It just feels strangely focused on, and it kind of feels like that one scene in Avengers Endgame where all of the women team up to help a human Infinity Stone fight. But the fact is, Lev's gender isn't really a fundamental flaw, more like a weird inclusion. Although it does figure into why he was banished from the Seraphites, so that much makes sense at least. Tommy definitely should have died from a headshot that was 2 feet away, and his inclusion in the end feels tacked on and unnecessary. It's also weird that he's so resolute in finding and killing Abby since he's the voice of reason in the beginning. So all of the characters in this game have some little thing that's wrong with them, and it adds up over time and makes it feel like all of the characters were written weirdly. Even Jesse, my boy, was done absolutely dirty by the end of this game. He's killed point blank from a headshot by Abby, although if you think about it, a couple seconds later in this scene, Abby makes Ellie stand up from behind her cover by threatening to kill Tommy, but what if Ellie slammed through the door like Jesse did? Then I guess you wouldn't get to lecture her, would you? Oops. So all of the characters in this game feel strange, except for Abby's friends, but all of them die anyway, so what does it matter? And now, the story. The story isn't actually that bad. I won't walk through it because it's really long, and if you made it this far, you've either played it or put the story together by now. But the thing people take huge issue with in this game is the death of Joel towards the beginning, which is simply ludicrous. Joel was a bad person who has killed a lot of people by this point in the story, and he died as some characters tend to do. Sure, he went out in a brutal way, and it felt awful to watch him get beaten to death by a woman who betrayed him moments earlier, but to say that he didn't deserve it is just false. This man has tortured and killed countless people. In fact, the only thing that barely makes him an anti-hero is Ellie, and then she goes on a killing spree in this game, so honestly, Joel's death is necessary, deserved, and spurs the story into motion, but as the story goes on, another thing that people take issue with is the amount of flashbacks there are. And I'll take this criticism in stride. This game has way too many flashbacks. It also doesn't serve this story to tell it out of order. Why not just do the flashbacks, then have Joel die, then switch to Abby's perspective and redeem her instead of waiting too long to do it later? A lot of people agree that putting this game in a different order would make it a million times better, and that's a completely valid criticism. And it's a bit sad because I wish I could talk about a game that was in order, that properly redeemed Abby, and that made Ellie a sympathetic character who does a lot of killing rather than a killer who's slightly sympathetic. This game came really close to working, but a few sloppy mistakes set it so far back that people absolutely bombed this game on release. And I think a lot of people rated it a lot worse than it actually is. Of course, this game is for sure a step down from the first, and I've said a lot in favor of that point throughout this video. And there's no doubt in my mind that this game failed. But it failed more because of its doomed release and people who like to review bomb games on release, not because it's an abomination of a game. This is similar to a point I was trying to make with the Arkham franchise, but people took that more as the game's being bad. But I want to make it crystal clear here that this game is not bad. It's not unplayable. Those words are too harsh and don't fit. But this game did fail. There's almost as much bad as there is good. If there's anything this and the last video teach you, let it be that a failure of a game is one that doesn't succeed in a fundamental way, not one that's an abomination. And you know what? I haven't spoken enough about the good stuff in this game, specifically the gameplay. The gameplay in this game is truly masterclass. Of course, it depends on what you're looking for, but if you're looking for grounded, adrenaline-filled gameplay with tool crafting and stealth mechanics along with all-out brawl mechanics, then you for sure come to the right place. The gameplay is a perfect evolution of the first games while keeping it just as difficult. Only now you can really feel that your enemies are there. The infected, actually side note, I should mention that it's weird that a lot of properties refuse to call their zombies, but whatever. The infected in this game feel like rabid animals that will kill you if you get too close. A lot of people complain that it's weird to have new infected in this game, but I disagree. They justify the new infected in this game by claiming that Seattle, the main setting of the game, was ground zero for the original outbreak of the state. And that's perfectly fine. It's a bit of a throwaway excuse, but the game needed new enemies, so it's fine. And the Shambler in a new enemy was cool, with a fantastic design that really stressed me out when it basically sprinted at me and tried to make me sniff its fumes. As for the humans in this game, which are definitely more satisfying and difficult to deal with, they're also done fantastically. The AI, mostly regardless of the level and the settings, feels incredibly normal in how people would react to someone sweeping through them like dust bunnies the way Ellie and Abby do. I also think the choice to give every single one of them a name is cool in theory, but not all that useful when the character models in the game look so bland that everyone just kind of blends together. But I digress, the combat feels really smooth in this game, whether you start every encounter with guns blazing or you put Ellie's switchblade to work. Stealth works and combat works, although I wish the consistency that ammo is really hard to find would apply to enemies a bit more. I know they're basically an army, but having them run out of ammo while fighting you would have been cool, especially when, on the harder difficulties, they do not drop any ammo more than a few times. I also wish that I could feel the distinction between enemy factions in this game a bit more. The Seraphites and the WLF don't feel that different, other than that the former uses more arrows and stealth and includes brute brute enemies. That's about it for gameplay, although I do like that making Abby super strong is countered by giving Ellie an unbreakable switchblade. That's a nice touch. I suppose in conclusive arguments, I said quite a bit on what I didn't like about this game. In fact, I made that mistake in the last Why It Failed video, and a lot of people misunderstood what I meant. In that video's case, all the games in the Arkham franchise were at least good, more on Arkham Origins later, but the franchise as a whole still failed because of inconsistent writing and inconsistent storytelling, with Asylum barely feeling connected to Knight in any way. This game deals with some of the same issues, with this game barely feeling in line with the last one. I mean, it's clear what the writers were going for about revenge being this all-consuming thing that ruins the life of every character in the game. It's not that I don't understand that, but does it really feel like Ellie from the first game would ever go down this path? I mean, she didn't even really like Joel when he died, and may I remind you, the reason that she was mad at Joel in the beginning of the game is literally the same reason that Abby was mad at Joel. The story of this game is just sloppy and out of order, and it really hurts to say that because I like the first game, and contrary to the comments section, I like this game, and when I say that it was done sloppily, it implies that no one cared about this game, but that's not true at all. I just think a few core mistakes have a very wide-reaching effect, like telling the story out of order or using almost all of the deaths in this game for shock value. It also really makes me sad because I understand what the game was going for, and it could have been fantastic, but it failed in the end getting that message out. It was doomed to fail because of an out-of-order story, because of a childish player base who couldn't get over the death of Joel, because of leaks that spoiled the game, among other things, but it's still a serviceable game, despite what the masses would have you believe, so it gets a 6 out of 10. Inconsistent storytelling, out-of-order storytelling, paired with genuinely flawless gameplay along with at least beautiful storytelling, no matter the order, gives this game its score. This game is definitely overhated, and it's not for the right reasons, unfortunate as it is. And if you think that I hate this game, I don't. I know it's difficult to listen to me talk about everything that's wrong with it and believe that, but whatever, believe what you want. And I should mention that I actually prefer to play Batman Arkham Knight over this game, so make what you will of that information. Anyway guys, as much as I've enjoyed clowning on this game for this long, this video still took a ton of work to make. And remember, this video, as per usual, is sponsored by me. This video never would have happened without the help of me, and I'd like to thank me for helping produce the video. So please, like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out more than you'd think, and it doesn't hinder you to do so. And like I said, if you want movie reviews, ask and you shall receive. If not, that's fine by me. Less copyright issues for yours truly. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Play nice, people.